Hi Swati,
Hi.
I have a question. What is a company secretary as a profession and how is it different from that of a CA or a CMA?
Okay. So this is the first question that comes to me when anybody hears from me that I'm a company secretary. So CS as a course, people assume that it's equivalent to that of a CA,
CA,
or we have to tell the CA hage.
correct.
So that is something that's a misconception in most of their minds. So that is something I want to clarify. So company secretary as a profession is at par with that of a CA, but it is not something that overlaps each other. So CA, CS, and CMA are three separate professional courses or professional bodies that govern the activities of a company. So the CA will be from an accounting or a financial perspective. The role of a CS is more to do with the legal aspects of it, technical aspects of the company,
And the
where
compliance
the
also.
compliance of the company, where we are handling the compliances of the company, where we are ensuring that the company is acting a certain way at in line with what the law prescribes.
Correct.
And a CMA, as you mentioned, is a cost and management accountant.
Accountant.
So these are three separate or three different professions.
Another common question which students have in mind is that can they opt this profession after they complete their degree? Or is it best that they can try this once they complete their PU?
As per what is prescribed by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, which is ICSI, a student after completing +2, that is after the PU, they are allowed to join the company secretary course provided they clear the foundation or the CSEET exam. So that's an entrance test. So once you clear your entrance exam, you are eligible to register as a student of CS for the CS executive level. Now this is the eligibility criteria is +2 or second PU. There is no restriction as such. It is great if you can start early. In today's competitive world, like there is every year that you waste is precious. Like you can't
Correct.
really waste a year. So there's absolutely no problem if you start as soon as you finished your 12th standard. But those who do it after degree need not write the CSEET or the foundation
Or the
exam.
foundation.
Yeah,
Okay.
that has been exempted. So you can directly register as a CS executive student, provided there is a TDOP or the 3-day orientation program, which
Okay.
they have to undergo. But otherwise, there is no, the foundation level exam is exempted because you hold a qualification, you hold a degree.
Degree. Okay.
Yeah. So there is no restriction as such. I personally prefer you start doing it immediately as soon as you finish your 12th standard.
12th standard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When one is searching for an articleship, what are the key aspects should a student keep in mind? And also, apart from your legal and compliance related skills, what are the other set of skills that a student must have while searching for an articleship?
This is a wonderful question. Something that has, bothered me as well when I was trying to apply for an articleship. So I am a student of law. So I did my law, which was for 5 years. I did BBA LLB, which was an integrated course for 5 years, along with CS. So I started my CS journey in the first year of law. So what happens is I will deviate a little, but it is related to this topic. So now, as a student of either BCom or law, there are two elements to this. So the first one, if you're someone who's doing a 3-year degree course, you have sufficient time in the evening, or you can take up evening college and attend articleship in the morning, or you're just doing college for 3 years, so you still have time to go back and do your articleship. But for someone who's investing 5 years of their life on getting a degree,
in law.
it consumes a lot of your time. So we don't have the scope, or I personally did not have the scope to do my articleship with college. So I had to wait until I finished my degree, and only then I had to apply for an articleship. At that point, if I had not decided what I wanted to do, I think I would have wasted more time, which you can't afford at that point. So what I personally suggest people, or what I also felt in my personal case, is that if you are someone who has decided that you want to enter the corporate world, that is, you want to join a company under employment as a CS, you're going to do that, you want a 9 to 5 job, or you want that environment for yourself, then from the very beginning, join a company for your articleship. But if you're someone who is not sure if that is what you prefer, and you wouldn't mind experiencing, or you want to experience the firm setup, then you have an option to join a practicing company secretary, to join their firm as an article there.
Mhm.
So when you're doing your internship, which is an extensive internship for a period of 21 months,
Yes,
now
yes.
it is compulsory for 21 months. 21 months
Articles.
of intense internship, that the experience that you're going to gain there is tremendous.
Mm.
So when you're joining a PCS firm, you get to learn fundamentals. You get to learn the most basic of basic concepts.
The mere foundation.
Foundation, exactly. So you get to learn all of this from, applying for a DIN, to incorporating a company, to probably helping out a company in its listing process. So there are various aspects that you will get to experience at a PCS firm. But in a corporate setup or in as a company secretary in employment, your scope of work will be restricted to that of the company
Correct,
particularly.
correct.
So the exposure might be restricted to that kind of work. If you're someone who loves to explore various avenues and then would want to decide, a PCS firm, in my opinion, is better,
The best
or
place.
is much better than joining a company from the
Company.
very beginning, because you always have the scope to jump.
Correct.
Now, coming to the second question that you posed was, what are the key skills that are required? Your knowledge is wonderful. Like, having the requisite knowledge is great, but being able to communicate is key according to me. So, bookish knowledge is something that you can always gain.
Correct.
So
correct.
that skill set is something that is totally different. That is something you can gain on field. You can learn the tasks on field. But being able to maintain good human relations, being able to communicate better,
Correct.
is very crucial in your profession. In our profession, where we indulge in a lot of consultation, where you have to constantly talk to clients, meet clients, get documents done. There are a lot of aspects involved where there is human communication involved. Or even to be able to draft a decent mail. I'm not saying with fancy words, just to draft a decent mail. So such skills are extremely useful as you do your articleship or as you enter the profession.
Even
So,
time management, for that matter, is
absolutely
very important. when it comes to-
absolutely true. Time management is very important.
Because you will be indulging in a lot of work. You need to know how you have to manage things.
Absolutely true.
That is very important.
Yes.
There are many students have opted for various other professions also. So can one practice as an advocate, as a CA, as a CMA, and also, for that matter, have a certificate of practice as a company secretary too?
Absolutely no. Every single professional body in India restricts its members to practice only in that particular profession. So if you are registered as a member or practicing in the bar council as an advocate, you are only allowed to do that. You will have to forego or surrender your practice in the bar if you have to join as a company secretary in practice. So if you have to apply for your COP, which is your certificate of practice, you must surrender any other professional practices. I'm not saying you have to surrender your membership. You can be a member, but you are not allowed to practice any other profession or indulge in any other business. You have to exclusively practice as a company secretary.
So you're not even allowed to have businesses.
No, you cannot have any other income apart from that. There are certain restrictions and limitations on this, but from a general perspective, you cannot. The institute prohibits you from doing so.
So how do you see the profession evolving with this digital era and the AI integration that is happening? So many of them see this as a threat. So what do you have to say about this?
In my opinion, the evolvement or the integration of AI and other technology into profession is not at all a threat. In fact, it is an opportunity for us to grow, because it's only when you look at it a certain way will your approach differ. So in my personal opinion, you have to change with the changing times. So today, the integration of ChatGPT, for example, as an AI tool, I understand that a lot of people have been overusing ChatGPT, so to say, that they tend to not utilize their minds to the fullest, and you're depending on the AI tool. But if you look at it from a different way, where you are doing your own research and you, let's say, need to summarize it, or you need some simplification of
Correct,
whatever you're
correct.
working on. And then you're using this chat bot or the AI tool to supplement or to, uh, should say complement your
Your
work.
work. Correct.
Then it's a wonderful tool, isn't it? It's
Mhm.
going to optimize the utilization of your
Your
time, optimize your resources, productivity,
efficiency,
everything. So in my opinion, you have to, explore these opportunities and learn how to integrate these tools into your everyday
Yes.
tasks.
So use this as a tool rather than an end solution.
Absolutely true. Now,
Correct.
even for example, if you have to do a presentation, earlier, if you had to spend a lot of time, just drafting the content or designing the presentation, and now AI does it for you in like minutes.
Correct.
So, why not utilize it for such benefits?
Because there is that fear in the mind of students that because of this AI, the profession may be obliterated, or you never know.
No, AI can never replace humans. At least that's what I, believe in.
Me too. What are the various emerging opportunities that are coming out in this company secretary profession? And also, what are there any specialization courses that they can do, or a certification courses? And also, one more question to add up: what are the various avenues that are available in India as well as globally for a company secretary as a profession?
So education should never stop at a certain point in time, right?
Correct.
You're always learning and you should always be open to learning.
Yes.
So there are a lot of specialization courses that one can do, not just as a company secretary, but even otherwise. For example, arbitration, that is ADR, alternate dispute resolution. It's an up and coming avenue.
Yes, yes.
So there's a lot of scope to practice arbitration or mediation. And as a company secretary, it's just going to add on to your skill set. If you're able to negotiate better, if you're able to mediate between companies or strike a deal with them, it's always going to help you professionally.
Correct.
So knowledge like that will help. Even intellectual property, for that matter, it is crucial to any business as an intangible
Correct,
asset.
correct.
So there are trademark fights everywhere. There are copyrights fights everywhere. So there is a lot of scope to practice in this
Particular
avenue.
field.
Yeah. So specialization in intellectual property is wonderful. There is you can also specialize in GST as an add-on to your regular knowledge. So like that, in my opinion, you shouldn't restrict yourself to
Correct,
whatever you
correct.
study during your student phase. You should always go ahead, specialize in different aspects,
Yes,
different fields.
But would you recommend this once? Is it better for them to establish first as a CS and then opt for these specializations? Because many of them think that just CS is not enough. We need to specialize in other aspects also.
That's not just for CS, it is for any profession, right? So there you have to always keep growing intellectually. So you have to keep studying, and this is like I mentioned, it's a never ending process, right? So once you don't have to establish yourself in the profession, you can start out, and as you grow, you can also add these things onto your resume. So it's only going to enhance your knowledge. It's only going to improve your skill set.
Correct.
So should never stop yourself at whatever you're doing. So you should always keep growing.
Correct. The season of exam is coming close.
Yeah, December 2025.
So there are many students who are anxious, who are scared about the exams. So I know it is too late to give them this advice, but still,
it's not too late. You still have that 1 month.
It is never too late. But how do they have to approach, or how do they have to look at a particular subject when they are studying?
So when I was a student of CS, I had a particular approach that I took, and that worked for me. It's not it's not mandatory that it will work for everyone.
Correct.
It may or may not. It's a very subjective thing, but it worked for me, and I would like to share that. So as a student of law, as I mentioned, I was a student of law. My approach to a particular topic, or the way I would analyze a certain situation, was a little different. So where we've been taught that you should look at a situation practically, understand the subject matter, relate it to a particular provision, and then set your analogy to it.
Correct.
So that's how I took up CS when as a student as well. So what happens is, you are studying a lot of things that either you don't know about at all.
Correct.
You are not experiencing it practically.
No exposure.
No exposure. So most of them, you are doing your articleship only after you clear your executive.
Exams.
Until then, you have absolutely no exposure to these things. So you're just studying theoretic subjects that don't make sense to you in the very beginning.
Correct. Correct. Fact.
Yeah. At that point, there are high chances that you'll either not be interested to read or you're going to get demotivated. How I would take up the subjects, so to say, or study for that matter, is obviously as a student, you're looking at it from an exam point of view. Because you have to write exams, you have to clear it.
Yes.
So you are looking at it from a very examination point of view.
Definitely.
And the best way to go about it is, I would first read the subject, okay? Or let's say I pick up a chapter from a particular subject. I read chapter 1. So you're just reading
plain
reading of the first chapter. And at the end of it, either things would have gone above my head.
Definitely.
Some things would have, like I've been able to understand, some things would have stayed.
Correct.
Now my second reading would be different. What I would do is, I would pick out a scanner. I would go through questions. Or I would pick out old question papers that are there. So once I understand that a particular question belongs to that particular chapter, I would write it there. Okay. So now a paragraph that would have otherwise not made sense has a question related to it. So now I'm like, okay, this is how it applies. And the second time I read it, I know that holds some importance.
Correct.
So my approach now is different. I know that can be a possible question.
Correct.
I will understand that better. And this is one tip that I would like to share. In the ICSI's module that they prescribe, their examinations are usually restricted to the particular module. The questions are never direct, but the topics are from there. It will never be out of your syllabus. So if you find a paragraph with 4 points, that's it. Like, that is where you need to focus on. You know that's going to be a 4-marker
question. Yes.
So if you see pointers, always pay more attention to that.
Correct.
So that way, what happens is, as and when you read, you're able to also analyze it from an examination point of view. Another tip that I would like to share is, don't memorize these things, because the subjects are so vast. It is humanly impossible to memorize and recall all of that, and you're going to turn blank at the time of your exams. So just try to understand. You can take help. Like if you're doing your articleship with your as a student, you will obviously understand those things practically. So that will help you. But apart from that, if you have a mentor, you can always ask them for the practical application of a particular subject or a topic. So that way you will be able to remember better. So once you understand a topic, then there are chances you'll never forget it.
There is another mistake which students do, is that they fail to read the heading when they are studying a particular topic. And when it comes in the paper, you are completely blank.
So this has happened to me too, okay? I know, so there's a question that has come for the exam. I know it is there. Oh yeah, it is in this part of the textbook. It is right there. Yeah, but I don't know the points because I didn't know like what relevance it had.
Correct.
So there are chances that will happen if you're just going to,
just go on monotonously reading the book. It doesn't help.
That is true. That happens.
Yes. That's really helpful, Swati. How many times a student has to revise? What do you have to suggest with regard to that?
Generally, 3 revisions must before your exams. So first can be, it's not revision so to say, but if you don't have a lot of time in hand, the first time when you're reading it, the plain reading is number 1. Second will be where you're cross-checking it with a question bank or something like that. So you know that question holds relevance. The third time will be the final revision during your exams. So I think more than that, it is a little difficult to do with the paucity of time that you have.
Correct. So Swati, do you think it is best for a student to do their articleship alongside write their exams, or would you suggest them to first clear their exams and then opt
for the articleship? There are 2 different opinions of people generally in this. But what I have experienced is your articleship will always help you to approach your papers better, because there is a topic that you're reading which doesn't make sense to you until and unless you experience it. Correct. Your articleship is going to help you with that. You're going to day in and day out understand what that is, because you're practically working on it. That way, when you're studying, it doesn't feel like you're learning something for the first time. You already know it. You're just going to apply that logic or that
Like, for
understanding.
example, the drafting paper.
Yeah, exactly. The drafting paper, for example. Now, as an article or as an intern at your articleship, you would have drafted minutes. You would have drafted resolutions day in and day out.
Yes.
So it's a part of your everyday work. Now it doesn't become a task to memorize the draft of it or understand the format because you already know it.
Correct.
So your articleship will always hold a lot of weightage. And I personally suggest you do your articleship with exams.
Alongside exams.
It gets a little difficult when you have to prepare for your exams because there will be some paucity of time. But if you are able to manage time, nothing like it, to be very honest. And you don't even have to see, it's a personal choice, but it is not mandatory for you to write all groups at once. You can take one group at a time if you think that is the best approach without putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Correct. What is the best way to attempt a particular paper? I wouldn't say very best, but when you're writing, the moment you get a question paper in your hand, how do I have to look at that paper? How is it going to be?
Yeah. So as soon as you hold that paper, don't panic.
Correct.
That is the first thing you should not do. Okay, is panic. Go through the question paper once without, starting to write. Like, don't just pull the paper and start writing. Like, never do that.
I believe now they have that
15-minute time. Yeah. So when I was writing my exams, we didn't have that. We just had to start. But even then, take some time to read the paper. Okay, compose your mind. Try to understand what has been asked. Now, there are a lot of questions that are case study based questions where you spend a lot of time reading. It consumes a lot of your time, and by the time you reach the end of the question, you would have forgotten what is in the beginning.
Correct.
Happens all the time. So that's why compose your mind, stay calm in that moment. Try to practically imagine the situation and see what best advice you would give. Now, everything, you can't go wrong in every question, right? You will know something.
Correct.
Don't panic. Okay. Now, coming to writing the answers for that matter. Once you understand the question, always follow a very simple structure when you're writing any answer. Introduction, the body. If you know the provision that is applicable, mention the provision, give a simple conclusion. Okay. This introduction conclusion will always add some weightage. You might feel it's a task to write introduction all the time, but even if you mention one line, one simple introduction, it will have a lot of value. Okay. And your answers are number 5 marker in your degree exams would be like pages together.
Correct.
Traditionally. But just try to understand that CS exams are corrected by professionals who also do not have the patience to read. And all our handwritings are so different. So obviously it's human tendency to lose patience. Right? They're not teachers, they are professionals. So 1.5 to 2 pages is maximum that you need to write. 1.5 pages more than enough. Maximum up to 2 pages. That is 2 sides of one sheet. Not more than that. Don't go to write too much. It will waste a lot of your time. And you won't get awarded enough marks at all. So stick to the point. Do not beat around the bush. Write point-wise answers. If you are able to do that, wonderful, nothing like it. Underline as and when you write. Don't go to underline with a scale and a pencil. Whatever you're using a pen, underline with the pen if there are any keywords. It is going to grab their attention. They will like it. And then don't keep your paper shabby. Write neatly. So all such tips are going to obviously add some brownie points to you, right? So that is any day better. And one more suggestion I have is to structure your exam in a 60-40 fashion. So the best or for example 2 hours and the 1 hour, so your paper will be for 3 hours, right? So the first 2 hours must be for the best 60 marks that you know. The last 1 hour will be for the worst 40 marks that you know.
Wow.
Okay, so when you're reading the question paper, mark the answers that you know, that you're short of. Finish them off in within 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay.
Then keep that 1 extra hour for the questions that you're not very sure of, but you're simply filling pages, right? So do that later. Don't waste your time writing something you do not know.
Correct. Okay? Because many do that mistake of leaving out questions too.
Never do that. You should write full 100 marks.
Because sometimes time constraint or because of students do give reasons.
Correct.
So you are suggesting not to leave.
Never leave.
Write 100 mark.
Full 100
Complete.
marks completely. And for you to understand, your paper is never 100. It is out of 120 questions. I mean, the questions hold 120 marks, right?
Correct, correct.
So out of which you are supposed to write 100 marks. So you have some optional questions here
Yes,
and
yes,
there,
yes, yes.
right? So wherever possible, make sure that you write for 100 marks, out of which you don't know how much you're going to get, right? You
Yes,
don't know
yes,
how much
yes.
is right, how much is wrong. So never give out that scope to lose out on marks, because getting 40 is not easy, and
Easy,
40
easy.
is not enough. You need 50.
Correct, correct.
So never give them that scope. One more thing is leaving out chapters is what I've seen most
Yes.
students do. In the last minute, you're panicking and then you just skip out
Skip.
on
Yes,
topics
yes,
you
yes.
don't know what you're reading. Never do that. This will be my final tip. So when you're studying, right, if there is a chapter that you feel is difficult, what I did was, personally, I never left a topic in a particular chapter. I would leave the entire chapter. Now, for example, if there
I
are
got it.
21 chapters, I
Yes,
would
yes.
leave one full chapter,
Yes,
and
yes.
study 20 chapters perfectly. So that is something that worked for me.
Don't leave topics from each chapter, but leave an entire chapter. Study the rest of the topics.
Of it. But that doesn't mean you leave out like 30% of the
Yeah,
entire
that is
syllabus.
there.
You don't have so much scope to
true.
do that. But yeah, out of 21, maybe one you can leave. That is okay, but preferably don't. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Swati, for that informative session. I'm sure all the students out there have gotten their hopes up.
Yeah, all the very best for your exams. If you have any questions or doubts, you can always leave comments below and
Yes,
we will
yes.
reply to that.
Definitely.